Hare Krishna everyone. Thank you for joining. Doing Canto 2, Chapter 2 overview this evening with His Grace Ajaya Gauraraya Prabhu. And he's online all the way from next door. And we shall make a start. Just want to quickly introduce him. Not that he needs an introduction, you all know him very well. And so he's also a disciple of His Holiness Jayapataka Swami, just like us. And plus we have other disciples online as well today, JPS. And so yeah, he's doing very well. As you know, he's advancing nicely. He's giving classes, doing overviews. He's done his Bhakti Shastri. He's halfway through his Bhakti Vaibhav. So yeah, so much going on, and he serves wherever and whenever required. So yeah, we all following the same path together, and let's hear from him. Hare Krishna. Let me stop sharing this. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Okay, you can hear me nicely?
Yeah. Very nice, Prabhu.
Okay. Do you want to start with Radha Madhav or shall we head straight in?
Now go Radha Madhav. Let's do this
Okay.
one. Radha Madhav.
Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girdhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girdhari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanchari Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Right.
Very well.
Okay, there's no echo, so okay.
It's not too bad. No, it's okay. So,
Just give me 1 second.
okay. If you can improve it, that'd be better. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, how about now?
Yes, fine, bro.
Yeah, I think it's better. I don't know. I was just hearing something in the back, but I think it's okay. Okay, let's start with Mangacharan. Narayanam Viskritya Naram Jaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhiriyet Nashtaprash Abdreshu Nityam Bhagavata-Sevayā Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki. Okay, Hare Krishna everyone. Thanks for joining. So this will be chapter 2 of Canto 2, The Lord in the Heart. Now, people sometimes find Canto 2 to be complicated, a bit awkward, but if you approach this chapter in particular from the point of a devotee, it's actually reasonably straightforward. And that's the key thing there. You need to think of it as in terms of a devotee. You think as a non-devotee, then it gets very complicated and it gets awkward. But if we think it's in terms of a devotee, think in terms of having that sublime aim of life, the ultimate goal, then it makes sense. If we don't have that, then it gets a bit confusing. So just keep that in mind. Obviously, we're all devotees here anyway, so that shouldn't be too difficult. But I think that's worth keeping in mind when we're going through this chapter. Okay, I'll start sharing. Okay. Can you see that? Right. So Canto 2, Chapter 2, the Lord in the Heart, verse 1. Shri Shukavacha evam pura dharana yatma yonir nashtam smritim pratyavarudhya tushtat tata sarsarjedham amogadrishtir yatapyayat prag vyavasaya buddhi. Sri Shukadeva Goswami said, formerly prior to the manifestation of the cosmos, Lord Brahma, by meditating on the Virat Roop, regained his lost consciousness by appeasing the Lord. Thus he was able to rebuild the creation as it was before. Now, if you think back to verse 1 of Bhagavatam, how did Lord Brahma state how he was able to create? It was through the heart. That Krishna instructed him through the heart and he was able to create. So now at this point, Lord Brahma has woken up again. This isn't total dissolution, partial dissolution. And now he's forgotten what to do. So what does he do? He remembers the Lord. And when you remember the Lord, then everything comes together. We talk about this Vyavasaya Buddhi. It's mentioned in the last line of the verse. It's talking about, it's also mentioned in Bhagavad-Gita, it's that resolute intelligence, consciousness, resolute intelligence in Krishna consciousness. It's speaking of not forgetting your eternal relationship with the Lord. So that's how Lord Brahma is able to actually remember what to do, because he's remembered, I'm the eternal servant of the Lord, and now he relates everything to the Lord. He's relating. So so we'll go to the planetary systems. He's recreating the ones that have been destroyed. He's relating, this is the Lord's navel, this is the Lord's feet, so on and so forth. So that's the message for us. We need to relate everything to the Lord, relate everything to Krishna, then we can figure out what to do. When we relate everything to the material world, to our own enjoyment, then we get confused, and that's when things go wrong, and then we end up in the mess that unfortunately we've been in for many, many lifetimes. Okay, we'll move on to verse 2. Shabdasya hi brahmana esha pantha yannamabhi dhyayati dhir apartahi paribhramam statra na vidate artrathan mayame vasanaya shayanaha. The way of presentation of the Vedic sounds is so bewildering that it directs the intelligence of the people to meaningless things like the heavenly kingdoms. The conditional souls hover in dreams of such heavenly illusory pleasures, but actually they do not relish any tangible happiness in such places. So you get an idea now that Sri Shukadeva Goswami has gone in quite strong from the start, that explaining that these fruitive activities, desiring sense gratification, is to be avoided. He's even mentioning meaningless things like the heavenly kingdoms. Now, you'll obviously, I'm sure you know many people that are very keen to go back to heaven. They're very much looking for that enjoyment. Sri Shukadeva Goswami is straight away rejecting this. He's referring to this almost in terms of Karmakand, as in we're looking for our own enjoyment rather than looking for the enjoyment of Krishna, looking to please Krishna. You keep doing this, you'll have to come back. We'd understand as devotees especially that until you go back to Godhead, you are stuck in this cycle. You can go to the topmost loka in this universe, Satyalok. That still doesn't mean you're out of the material world. You need to go back to Vaikuntha Lok. Ideally, we want to be going back to Golok Vrindavan because we are devotees of Krishna. But either way, whether you go to another planet in Vaikuntha Lok or you go to Goloka Vrindavan, you want to go back, because while you're in this material world, there's danger there. That is that you can forget. Like I just gave the example of Lord Brahma in the previous verse. He forgot, he woke up. Lord Brahma is the most powerful jiva within this universe, yet he forgets too. Now, someone could say, what about somebody with a photographic memory? Well, forgetfulness isn't just means that you don't forget everything. It means you forget your relationship with Krishna, that we are his eternal servant, or you refuse to accept that you are his eternal servant. And that's forgetfulness too. Again, we need to follow the instructions of Sri Shukadeva Goswami. Take to bhakti. Don't mess around. And he goes on, he keeps going with this. That's how important this is. We'll head to verse 4. Satyam kishitao kim kashipoho prayaser bahao swasidehi upabadhanehi kim satyanjalao kim purudhana patrya digvalkaladao sati kim duklehi. When there are ample earthly flats to lie on, what is the necessity of cots and beds? When one can use his own arms, what is the necessity of a pillow? When one can use the palms of his hands, what is the necessity of varieties of utensils? When there is ample covering with the skins of trees, what is the necessity of clothing? Now, this would make it sound like, we should have no material comforts whatsoever. We should be living in the jungle. But that's not quite what they're getting at. You're not supposed to live like animals, but you're not supposed to be dependent on material comforts either. You should be looking to improve your material opulences as opposed to increasing your bhakti. You give the example of don't be a Hiranyakashipu. I don't mean, attacking your own son, trying to murder your own son like he did. I mean, don't be Hiranyakashipu in terms of don't be after soft bedding and gold, which is what that means. In other words, don't be after wealth and comfort. Understand that even animals can survive very nicely without these material comforts. So can you. You don't need to go out to the jungle and live like that necessarily, because these days it's very difficult anyway. But you shouldn't be pining for more material comforts, especially as you're rising through your bhakti, or also if you're getting older as well. You should be detaching yourself from these things. That's that vanaprastha element there that we don't necessarily follow these days in terms of, living in the forest in terms of for spiritual enlightenment. But we can follow it in terms of detaching ourselves from material comforts and attaching ourselves to Krishna bhakti. Like I said, Shukadeva Goswami is very firm on this point. And this isn't just meant for the general masses or those in the Grihastha ashram either. As explained in verse 5. Chiranikim patina santi dishanti bhiksham nevan grihaha parabhrittaha saritapi yashushan lodaguha kimajita vati nopasanan tasmad bhajanti kavayo dhana dharma dhandan. Are they now closed lying on the common road, with trees which exist for maintaining others no longer give alms in charity? The rivers being dried up no longer supply water to the thirsty? Are the caves of the mountains now closed? Or above all, does the Almighty Lord not protect the fully surrendered souls? Why then do the learned sages go to flatter those who are intoxicated by hard-earned wealth? Now, this is something that's quite applicable to Kali Yuga, where you get those in renounced life. They think they go to it because they think that will solve the economic issues. They think, okay, if I become some great sannyasi, everyone will look after me, I can do whatever I want. That's not what's meant for. Those in renounced life should be taking such an order because they're very capable, they're dependent on Krishna. They're not worried about their own material comforts. They're fearless. That you should be in that level where you're completely fearless. Everything is for Krishna. In fact, in the verse, it's explained that the first duty of someone who takes a renounced life is to create literary work for the benefit of humanity. So you're not even worried about your own comforts or your whatever issues you got to have. You're just feeding yourself. You're worried about providing the message of Krishna to the world. You're worried about educating them. You're worried about telling them that they are wasting their lives in nonsense and they need to take to bhakti because that is their first and ultimate goal. So this doesn't just apply to, that's the thing. So Shukadeva Goswami, he's just, this is education for everybody, including those that we think should know better. That's the problem with Kali Yuga. Those that we think should know better don't always know better. So we have to be careful. We have to actually understand, is this person I'm taking guidance from actually worthy taking guidance from? That's why we're so grateful to Prabhupada, for example, because we rely on him because he has, his example showed us how to live life properly. And he learned that from his guru. Guru Parampara follows. We have that Guru Sadhu Shastra there. There's no speculation. And that's key. You take away the speculation, you're actually following something that works. You see from the example, you see from your own lives. If if you follow it properly, it will improve spiritually. Then you can move forward. Okay. Now we know this, as I explained earlier, or stated earlier, that this chapter is called Lord in the Heart. So naturally, you get a description of Paramatma, who is the Lord in the heart, the one who witnesses and sanctions everything. Now that's between verses 8 and 12. I'll head there. Okay. Kechid swadehantar hridaya vakashe pradesha matram purusham vasantam chaturbhujam kanja ratanga shanka dhadadharam dharadaya samaranti. Others conceive of the personality Godhead residing within the body in the region of the heart and measuring only 8 inches, with 4 hands carrying a lotus, a wheel of a chariot, a conch shell, and a club, respectively. Now, let's see. Yeah, I'll read a bit of purport as well to give an idea of what's being explained here. So the all-pervading personality Godhead resides as Paramatma in the heart of each and every living entity. The measurement of the local personality of Godhead is estimated to expand from the ring finger to the end of the thumb, more or less 8 inches. The form of the Lord described in this verse, the distribution of different symbols, beginning from the lower right hand up and down to the lower left hand with lotus, wheel of chariot, conch shell, and club, respectively, is called Janardhan, or the plenary portion of the Lord who controls the general mass. What this means is that our particular Paramatma is known as Janardhan. It is he who is very, very merciful to us. He continues to witness and sanction our activities, life after life. Even when we don't want to remember Krishna, he continues to be there, this manifestation of the Lord, and continues to wait, continues to provide the mercy, waiting for us to move ahead towards him, to actually interact with him, to take towards our bhakti. But I'll read on, there's also other variations of Paramatma as well. There are many other forms of the Lord with the varied situations of the symbols of lotus, conch shell, etc. And before I read these names, just think of, I'll read these names out, these are all names of the Lord, all names of Paramatma forms. Just think of what are these names, see if this emanates any particular pastime or thought in your head. And they are differently known as Purushottama, Achyuta, Narasimha, Trivikrama, Rishikesha, Keshava, Madhava, Aniruddha, Pradhumna, Sankarshan, Sridhara, Vasudeva, Damodara, Janardana, Narayana, Hari, Padmabha, Vamana, Madhusudana, Govinda, Krishna, Vishnumurti, Adhokshaja, and Upendra. These 24 forms of the localized personality Godhead are worshipped in different parts of the planetary system, and each system there's an incarnation of the Lord having a different Vaikuntha planet in the spiritual sky, which is called the Paravyoma. What I'm trying to get at here is that Paramatma is not only is incredibly merciful, but is also quite flexible as well, because in different lokas, the body is different as such. For example, when you go to the higher planetary lokas like Satyalok, the body is more subtle as opposed to our kind of more gross body. So Paramatma can accommodate that as well. So we have different Paramatmas for different bodies, different lokas as such. So that is the mercy of Krishna there, that this manifestation is for all the jivas. He's making sure that we all have that potential to get back to Godhead. He will always maintain. He doesn't forget us. That is why Paramatma is so, it's such a wonderful thing, because that Krishna isn't that like us where we can be sometimes be petty. There's no pettiness there. There's just mercy. I'll give a quick description of Paramatma as well. Prasana Bhaktram Nalina Yateka Kshanam Kadamba Kinjalka Pishanga Vasasam Lasan Maharatna Hriyan Mayan Gadham Spuran Maharatna Kirita Kundalam. His mouth expresses happiness. His eyes spread like the petals of a lotus, and his garments, yellowish, like the saffron of a kadamba flower, are bedecked with valuable jewels. His ornaments are all made of gold, set with jewels, and he wears a glowing headdress and earrings. In other words, Paramatma is actually very beautiful. Actually, you can see there's all these descriptions there. He's, very dressed very nicely. He's got eyes like the pearls of a lotus, which is, wow, amazing. So we should really be turning to the Lord. Lord is there. Lord is beautiful. It's just why would we ignore him? And so for those that actually have had the sense to actually turn to Krishna, or should we say turn, in this case, more specifically, turn towards Paramatma, what has happened for them? We'll head to verse 13. This one speaks about the unattached yogi. Ekakasho nang angani dhiya nubhavayet padadi yavad dasitam gadharvritaha jitam stanam apoya dharayet param shudyati dhir yatha yatha. The process of meditation should begin from the lotus feet of the Lord and progress to his smiling face. The meditation should be concentrated with the lotus feet, then the calves, then the thighs, and this way higher and higher. The more the mind becomes fixed upon the different parts of the limbs, one after another, the more the intelligence becomes purified. What it's saying here is that even for those that in previous yugas would take to the meditation of the Lord, there's a process. You don't cheat the process. So when we say take the bhakti, we say don't cheat the process. Obvious example would be, for example, with reading Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, you don't jump to Canto 10. Start with Canto 1 and work your way up. That's why Bhagavatam is explained to be like it's explained like the universal form of the Lord in that sense as well, because Canto 10, for example, is the face of the Lord. But just like the yogis, unattached yogis here, they work from the lotus feet of the Lord and they work their way up. That's how they meditate. They're not attached to sense gratification. They're attached to the Lord. So in their case, they think about Paramatma. They think of the beautiful form of Paramatma. They have to attach themselves to that. And that is how they have to do their meditation. Now, the flip side is, for those that are still attached to sense gratification, what do? Next verse explains that. Yavana jayata paravaresmin vishvaveshvare dhrashtari bhakti yogaha tavat staviya purushasya rupam kriyavasane prayata smareta. Unless the gross materialist develops a sense of loving service unto the Supreme Lord, the seer of both the transcendental and material worlds, he should remember and meditate upon the universal form of the Lord at the end of his prescribed duties. Okay, this example is actually given here within the purport. Let me just find where it starts. Yeah. For the less intelligent beginners, meditation on impersonal feature, the Virat Rup, or universal form of the Lord, will gradually qualify one to rise to personal contact. One is advised herewith to meditate upon the Virat Rup, specified in the previous chapters, in order to understand how the different planets, seas, mountains, rivers, birds, beasts, human beings, demigods, all that we can conceive are but different parts and limbs of the Lord's Virat Rup. This sort of thinking is also a type of meditation on the absolute truth. So what we understand with this Virat Rup is the yogi is thinking, he's not willing to think of the personal form of the Lord. So he thinks of the universe and he applies that to the Lord instead. So this is the Lord's feet, it's the Lord's navel, so on and so forth. Now, this is a trickier way of doing things because then you get distracted. So, you're applying the mountains, rivers, example, all these sort of things. You might become attracted to that sort of, like, say, even demigods, for example. You might become attracted to other things as opposed to keeping your focus. That is why Bhakti Yoga is such a wonderful thing, because it gives you that direct focus. You don't get misguided by complicated things, because along the way, you might do some offense, you might do some sins, and then you get diverted from the path. Even if you'll be sincere, you might have to, this isn't the path for somebody who wants to go back in this life. This is a very hard path to go through. It's going to take a long time to do. So you really don't want to go through this path. Take the bhakti, and it is possible to go back in this life. That is the key thing here. That's the difference. There's a direct path or the indirect path. The choice is yours. But if you have taken a devotional service, then I would hope you take to the direct path. Right, from verse 15 to 21, he speaks about Shat Chakra Yoga, which is described as a meditation of the 6 circles of the movement of life airs. Sounds very complicated. What it just means is that you're creating a situation where your soul can willingly leave the body. Now, this isn't really applicable for the people of Kali Yuga these days, but I'll speak a few verses on it to kind of explain why we are so fortunate to have bhakti and Lord Chaitanya's mercy in this particular time, because I'll explain this process is not straightforward. There we go. 19, verse 19. Ita munis tuparamed vyavasito Vijnanadrig virya surandita shaya swa parishniya parshina gudam tato nilam staneshu shatsuna mayej jita klamaha. By the strength of scientific knowledge, one should be well situated in absolute realization and thus be able to extinguish all material desires. One should then give up the material body by blocking the air hole through which stool is evacuated with the heel of one's foot and by lifting the life air from one place to another in the 6 primary places. Okay, I'll carry on with the next verse. Nabhyam stitam hridi adhiropya tasmad udhala ghatyo rasitam nayan munihi tato nusandhaya dhiya manasvi swatalo moolam shanakya nayata. The meditative devotee should slowly push up the life air from the navel to the heart, from there to the chest, and from there to the root of the palate. He should search out the proper places of intelligence. Okay, this is kind of explains a bit what's going on. Purport. There are 6 circles of the movement of the life air, this Shat Chakra Yoga, and the intelligent bhakti yogi should search out these places with intelligence and in a meditative mood. It's talking about those from previous yoga. This is what they could do. Among these, mentioned above is the Swadhisthana Chakra, or the powerhouse of the life air. And above this, just below the abdomen and navel, is the Manipuraka Chakra. When upper space is further searched out in the heart, one reaches the Anahata Chakra, and further up, when the life air is placed at the root of the palate, one reaches the Vishuddhi Chakra. Now, so they're very skilled in previous times. They can actually manipulate the life air so you can actually work it through the body. It sounds very impressive. I mean, you can give it a go if you want, but it's not straightforward at all. Next verse explains a bit more. Tasmad bhruvor antaram unayata niruddha sapta yatano napekshaha stitva muhurtardham akunta drishtir nirbhidya murdhan visirjit paramgataha. Thereafter, the bhakti yogi should push the life air up between the eyebrows and then, blocking the 7 outlets of the life air, he should maintain his aim for going back home, back to Godhead. If he's completely free from all desires for material enjoyment, he should then reach the cerebral hole and give up its material connections, having gone to the Supreme. Give me a second. So you can see, even with all this, all this process, you still have to be free from all desires for material enjoyment. Now, never mind doing the whole process. You think just for yourself. Can anyone actually 100% say we're free from all desires for material enjoyment? If you can, that's fantastic, but it's easier said than done. And then pushing up to the cerebral hole and all this, it's not straightforward. Not straightforward at all. That's why I'm saying we should be so grateful to Lord Chaitanya, because it's, these processes, for them it might be easy, but for us it's not easy at all. And it's just, even if you are very capable in this sort of thing, things can go wrong. You can't just, I mean, there are so many examples of yogis that have been meditating for a long time, and then the classics always when Indra, for example, might get envious or might get worried and might send somebody distract them, and then all that meditation doesn't reap the right fruit. Now that's the thing. You can work really hard for this and it can still go wrong. That's why we need to take to the Bhakti Yoga pattern, Bhakti Yoga method, because even such as the mercy that even when we do offenses, we can ask for forgiveness and get back to the path. We don't fall behind. Right, from verse 22 to actually, there's a middle bit. Actually, I did miss out. Sorry. Okay, I'll just read this. This is like just to kind of explain a bit more. And the life air passes through the 7 openings, namely 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 2 ears, and 1 mouth. Generally passes through the mouth at the time of an ordinary man's death. But the yogi, as above mentioned, who controls the life air in its own way, generally reduces life air puncturing the cerebral hole in the head. Yogi therefore blocks up all the above mentioned 7 openings so that the life air will naturally burst forth through the cerebral hole. This is the sure sign of devotees leaving the material connection. Yeah, so I did mention it. I should have emphasized a bit more in the translation. You have to block all 7 airs, 7 openings. Now that's tricky. That in itself tricky. It's all tricky, really. Which is why we don't. This is not suggested in this times, right? So from verse 22 to 32, it speaks on Grama Mukti or gradual liberation. This is for those that don't want to go back to Godhead straight. They want to actually go up into the lokas. These lokas, they want to experience what's in this material universe. Right. One thing to account for, though, that is that if you do find this particular few verses attractive, like you think you might want to try this, then as I've been saying before, you can get very distracted in these endeavors. So it's quite dangerous. It's not like bhakti where we're taking directly to Krishna. Okay, verse 24. Veshvanaram yati vihayasa gataha sushumnaya brahmapatena shochisha vidutta kalkotha harir udastat prayati chakram nirpa sheshumaram. O king, when such a mystic passes over the Milky Way by the illuminating Shushumna to reach the highest planet Brahmaloka, he first goes to Veshvanara, the planet of the deity of fire, wherein he becomes completely cleansed of all contaminations. And thereafter he still goes higher to the circle of Shushumara to relate with Lord Hari, the personality of Godhead. Now this is applies to those that actually, like I said, want to go to the higher lokas. First they have to go to this planet of deity of fire called Veshvanara. So they have to go to this fire to purify themselves. We understand that fire has that potency where it purifies. In this case, they have to completely purify themselves so their gross big body can become more subtle. And what's happening there is once they've gone past this, they come to this circle of Shushumara, which is actually very nicely described in Canto 5. So I'll just read this out for you. From Canto 5, chapter 23, verse 4. This great machine, consisting of the stars and planets, resembles the form of a Shishumara dolphin in the water. So that's what this Shishumara is. Let's keep going on about. It's a dolphin. It is sometimes considered an incarnation of Krishna, Vasudeva. Great yogis meditate upon Vasudeva in this form because it's actually visible. The short purport to go with as well. Transcendentalists such as yogis whose minds cannot accommodate the form of the Lord prefer to visualize something very great, such as the Virat Purusha. Therefore, some yogis contemplate this imaginary Shishumara to be swimming in the sky the way a dolphin swims in water. They meditate upon it as a Virat Roop, the gigantic form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Again, you're getting this Virat Roop meditation. So, firstly, it shows that, that within our scriptures, they understand how the stars and planets work. And the yogis are very wise in that they can actually They understand how everything works, and now they're actually they're trying to apply it to the Lord. So what they're actually thinking in terms of like a dolphin. So this is how like this particular part of the Milky Way around just above it, shall I say. This is above this Vishwanara planet. This is where this Shishimara looks like. It looks like a dolphin. The yogis, again, this is this universal Virat Rup meditation. We're applying something to try and think about the Lord. So they're having to think about this dolphin-like shape of this planetary system, which in one sense is, it's quite interesting, quite imaginative, but it is, firstly, it's not the Lord himself. It is like imagination. It's a temporary, like the Virat Rup itself is like a temporary form. So example, so like with for example, when Brahma creates the universe, goes to the planetary systems, he relies on Garbhodakshay Vishnu to provide him guidance to create the various systems. So that's how he applies that to Garbhodakshay Vishnu. They're thinking that's like the top is his, this is his face, arms, navels, legs, so on and so forth. Again, so they keep applying this thinking to try and think about the Lord. But surely it would be easier if you just thought of Krishna, just think of Krishna's form. Think of Krishna's, his lotus feet, and playing his flute, his legs, everything. We have Krishna's form in front of us, We don't have to work so hard to imagine a form. When the Shastras, when Gurus, they've given us form that we can appreciate from Krishna. With this, it doesn't have to be so hard. That's one thing about previous yogas. They're more capable, so they could do harder processes. But the best process is this bhakti process. Why don't you just take to that? Why do things the hard way when I suppose the easier way is actually more fruitful? Now, take away the arrogance. Don't think to yourself that I have to do things the hard way. I'm not talking about previous yogas. I'm talking just about ourselves. We sometimes have to feel that we have to do things the hard way to justify ourselves. But if the mercy has been given to you, just take it. Don't fight if Krishna is directing you, through his devotees, through your guru, then why fight it? The path is opening up for you. You might want to do something in particular, but if something else is being opened up for you, something that's probably better suited for, then do that. That's why we take to bhakti, because that is the better suited path for us. And we need to follow that, because otherwise, this gets a bit tricky, and then we kind of just make things harder for ourselves, there's no need for that. Okay, next verse. Tad Vishwanabhim tva ati vartya Vishnor aniyasa virajanat manekeh namaskritam brahma vidham upeti kalpayisho yad vibhudaramante. The Shishimara is the pivot for the turning of the complete universe, and is called the navel of Vishnu, Garbhodakshay Vishnu. The yogi alone goes beyond the circle of Shishimara and attains the planet of Mahalok, where purified saints like Bhrigu enjoy a duration of life of 4.3 billion solar years. This planet is virtual even for saints who are transcendently situated. Okay, so this is kind of fits in what I've been saying. This is like Lord Brahma, when he's creating the universe, he meditates upon Garbhodakshay Vishnu. This is Shishimara, which is considered the navel of Lord Vishnu in this sense. So the yogi goes beyond this, which is it's amazing in itself, amazing accomplishment. But then he goes to this Mahalok planet, where it said saints like Bhrigu enjoy a duration of life of 4.3 billion solar years. This is why it's why I keep repeating this, because this is the key part of this particular verses, key part of this chapter. You can lose your focus. 4.3 billion of our years is a long time. You could easily lose focus. You could be very sincere, very powerful, very focused, but that's a long time to keep your focus. Why not just go back in this lifetime? Why not go back straight? Yes, you'd have the association of great saints, but this is very much doing things the hard way. And like I've said, this material universe is very beautiful. We appreciate the nature. Even the sunset's very beautiful. People go, they take hiking trips and go to the beach and everything, all sort of stuff. It's all very beautiful. The seas, nature is beautiful in itself. That's not, you should be worshipping nature, you should be worshipping the Lord. This is just the facility given because we want to enjoy without him. That's what we need to remember, actually. We want to enjoy with Krishna, not without him. We need to put everything for Krishna. So if something's distracting us, we need to eliminate that or change it to where we're using it for Krishna. And this is explained a bit more in the next verse as well. Atho anantasya mukhala nelena tandhayamanam sa niriksha vishvam niryati siddheshwara yushtadishnam yadvai parardhyam yadhu paramistyam. At the time of the final devastation of the complete universe, the end of the duration of Brahma's life, a flame of fire emanates from the mouth of Ananta, from the bottom of the universe. The yogi sees all the planets of the universe burning to ashes, and thus he leaves for Satyalok by airplanes used by the great purified souls. The duration of life in Satyalok is calculated to be 15,480 billion years. We're talking like trillion then? So nearly trillion, well, 15,480 billion years. Yeah, so again, we'll start with this. So this is at the point of final devastation. So Lord Brahma, we know, lives a very long time, trillions of years. Flame of fire emanates from the mouth of Nantashesh. Lord, the poor Lord, I feel like quite guilty about this with the thing about Lord Ananta. At this point, he's been there so long, he's been chanting the names of Lord, and he's fed up. He's fed up that these fools, they don't want to go back to Godhead. They just keep sticking around this material universe. So he gets angry, and I don't blame him. He should be angry. We've tested his patience far too much. And that's the great fire emanates and everything starts burning up. So now these yogis who still might be, they're still focused on meditation. Now they leave Satyalok because now they're going back to Godhead. But all this meditation, how long has it taken? Potentially 15,480 billion years. Really? So if you want to do that, that's great, but that's a long, long time to be meditating, to be living here. It's very, very dangerous to be going through this process. We appreciate what's happening because these are like the likes of Indradev and everybody. These are the servants of the Lord. They serve a purpose, but they get bewildered as well. It's like even in the second verse we spoke about, the Vedic sounds are bewildering. It's bewildering because rather than taking to bhakti, we get distracted by other things. And this is incredibly bewildering as well. And so to please Krishna, please Anantashesh, he's having to do this task. We should really just take the bhakti straight away because otherwise, it's just it just drags on and then you could easily come back again. And and you can see from this sheer amount how long this goes for. It's a long, long time immemorial. When we say time immemorial, this is what this means. This is a very, very long. This is why we don't remember our past lives, or you might remember one or two if you in certain cases, because you don't know how long you've been here. It could be a very, very long time, and that's why you get conditioned because you're adding on and on and on rather than removing the sin. You're adding to your sin. That's why we need to be careful that now that we have the process, the path to actually get back, we should take it because. Again, distractions, very dangerous distractions. Okay, I'll move to verse 30. Sabhuta sukshmendriya sanikarsham manomayam devamayam vikaryam samsadhya gatya sahatena yati vijnana tattvam guna sanirodham. The devotee, thus surpassing the gross and the subtle forms of coverings, enters the plane of egoism, and in that status emerges the material modes of nature, ignorance and passion in this point of neutralization, and thus reaches egoism and goodness. After this, all egoism is merged into the Mahatattva, and it comes to the point of pure self-realization. So even before it reaches the Mahatattva, it only reaches the point of egoism and goodness. Now, if one is performing his devotional service well, he's performing the mode of goodness. I hope you understand what I'm trying to get to here is that we don't have to go through all these troubles to elevate ourselves beyond the modes. Yes, we understand the mode of goodness has still tinges of passion and ignorance within it, but we can elevate ourselves within bhakti alone. We don't have to be struggling along the way. This is, this is again, very elevated souls being able to do this, but it's a very difficult way of doing things. And yeah, I'll read it from purport explains more relevant to us. The mind belongs to the mode of goodness, and therefore is called the Deva Maya or godly. Perfect purification of the mind is possible when one is fixed in the conviction of being the eternal servant of the Lord. Therefore, simple attainment of goodness is also material mode. One has to surpass the stage of material goodness and reach the point of purified goodness, or Vasudeva Sattva. This Vasudeva Sattva helps one to enter into the kingdom of Godhead. So Deva Maya, godly, is goodness is good that you got to this part that you're in goodness, but it still needs to be fixed. And then that's the thing. So that's the one problem we can have as devotees. We can get proud because we think we're doing well, you're chanting well, you're serving well. And you might be getting respect now as well because you're doing better in your devotional service. You think you've gotten somewhere, but that's again, you've forgotten that you're not the one to be served, you're the servant. You have to get past this pride part. That's very dangerous. That's probably the most dangerous thing within modern goodness. It's that pride. Once you get rid of that pride, once you are, very much the eternal servant of the Lord, then you're starting to move. You want to be like, you want to follow in the footsteps of Prabhupada, follow the footsteps of the gurus. Everything was for Krishna. There wasn't any selfishness there. That's what we need to do. And there's some considerations given here within this purport. And I'll speak on one. Yeah, I'll speak on 1 and 4. So 1, offense by one at the feet of a pure devotee may be likened to the mad elephant who devastates a very good garden if it enters. Again, we have to be careful not to, we all know this, but we still have to be careful that when a guru gives us instructions, we should take them seriously. They shouldn't be trying to divert from them or surpass them, or if the guru is giving us instructions for a reason. So we have to take this very seriously. We have to understand that it's for our benefit. We might not necessarily like what the guru has to say. We might not necessarily agree with the guru has to say. That doesn't mean that we ignore it. We can obviously ask for more clarification if we don't understand what to do. Yet we shouldn't take it as a reason to feel resentful towards the guru or resentful towards pure devotees if they chastise us or they give us some direction that we're not particularly keen on. We just have to understand this is a mercy, and then we have to work to a better ability with it. And what does that mean then? So number 4 explains how that would help against this. Actually, these weeds are material enjoyment, merging of the self in the absolute without separate individuality, and many of their desires in the field of religion, economic development, sense enjoyment, and emancipation. So in other words, for those that are taken to pure devotional service, they avoid these material enjoyments. The material enjoyment doesn't just mean going to the movies or going on holiday or something like that. It can also include merging the self in the absolute. So as in merging to Brahmajyoti, there's still that sense of I am the Lord in that sense. Because when you merge into Lord, you're thinking you're one with the Lord. We understand we are the servant of the Lord. We're that minute part and parcel. That material enjoyment there's that ego there. So we need to get rid of that ego. That's where sometimes devotees struggle because they're doing everything right, but that ego is still there. And so if they get chastised, it can be hard to bear because they're trying their best. But sometimes the advanced devotee sees something wrong that we need to work on. And then we should at least take it into account. We might not be able to fix it straight away. We need mercy of their mercy. We need to work on it. But if we pay attention to what the weeds are, that's why it's suggested that you work on this earlier in your bhakti, ideally. Because if it gets too strong, then it gets harder to fix it. It's not impossible to still fix it. You need to probably do a bit more work, because if it's become a habit, then habits take a bit more time to break. Especially if it's one that's been useful towards you for you in your bhakti. You might actually even help you in the bhakti. Ultimately, though, it might be something that holds you back. It might be because there's some arrogance in you. It might be, or there might be a better way to do it, and then you have to learn that, and then that could be trickier to break. But if you are willing, if you are obviously, if you have faith in the Guru, faith in Krishna, you'll find a way. Okay, so Shukadeva Goswami, has obviously he's explained to us that these fruitive activities, other such methods, they're not the way to go. And so once again, he's at these last few verses, he's glorifying bhakti. Why bhakti is best. It's from 33 to 37. I'll hit 33. Nahiyato nyaya shiva panta vishata samshita viha vasudeva bhagavati bhakti yogo yato bhavet. For those who are wandering in the material universe, there is no more auspicious means of deliverance than what is aimed at in the direction of devotional service of Lord Krishna. That's pretty much, on the money. If Shukadeva Goswami leaves no sense of guessing. Take the bhakti, telling you direct devotional service to Krishna. Don't try this jnana yoga, karma yoga. Don't look for different paths. Just take straight to bhakti. That's the best way. And this is coming from Shukadeva Goswami, such a great personality, such a incredibly. It is thanks to his mercy that he got it. Not only does he guide Parikshit Maharaj, he guides all of us, and he's just telling you straight. Just take straight to it. Otherwise, you mess around. And of course, even it's even mentioned in Gita, the last instruction, that says last instruction about Gita 86 advises fully surrendering unto the Lord, leaving aside all other engagements with different processes for self-realization and liberation from material bondage. The famous words, Sarvadharman Parityajya, Mamikam Sharanam Raja, Aham Tam Saprapapibhyo Moksham Vishuchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. That's the Krishna's famous promise. So it's not that, it's that, Krishna's told you what to do. Shukadeva Goswami is telling you what to do. Just take to it. It's there's no reason to not take to it, because I've received other methods are very difficult. And then if you try material enjoyment, that's miserable as well, because that's things, especially the mode of passion, starts fun and it gets boring after more you experience it. That's not with bhakti. The more you get into bhakti, the more enjoyable it becomes. That's why if something it's not enjoyable, it's because you're not diving deep enough into it. It's not bhakti. Bhakti is not the issue here, because Krishna is ever fresh, his devotional service is ever fresh. That's why these weeds we need to watch out for. If we get rid of these weeds, then whatever's bothering us, it gets out the way, and the bhakti gets really, really strong. And you've seen so many great, devotees in our movement. They are inspiration that, yes, we can do that too. Okay, so next verse. Okay, and so next verse is a great example of how to do direct devotional service. Bhagavan Brahma Krishnayena Sri Anviksha Manishaya Tad Adya Vasyat Kutasto Ratir Atman Yato Bhavet. The great personality Brahma, with great attention and concentration of the mind, studied the Vedas 3 times, and after scrutinizing examining them, he ascertained that attraction to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna is the highest perfection of religion. So there's a reason why this is particularly important, but they're all important verses. This one, though, the key thing here is that Lord Brahma, who's instructed by Krishna within the heart, still studied the Vedas 3 times to ensure that everything was right. It's not because he had doubt about Krishna, it's because he's showing us that we shouldn't be sentimental. And unfortunately, especially those within what we considered, we call this Hindu faith, Sri Sanatan faith. They just take whatever's, told to them, just without actually understanding it. But if Brahmaji he actually goes through the process. He's actually making sure that, that everything has been told. Then that shows that we should read our scriptures. We should inquire. We shouldn't just blindly accept. Otherwise, there's no faith there. That's just blind sentiment. And then what happens if something bad happens to you? You have bad association, for example, with some devotee, or you go through some suffering. You turn away from your faith. You lose your faith. Why? Because you never understood your faith. You just took it blindly. You haven't really developed a relationship. Or you go elsewhere. Or what happens unfortunately, within Sanatana Dharma is that they'll worship one week they'll worship Lord Shiva, next week they worship Lord Hanumanji, moving back and forth. There's no developing relationships there. There's no love. That's what love of Godhead is what we want. You only get that if you actually put the effort in to actually understand the Lord. And how can you say love someone if you don't know anything about them? You need to try to understand Krishna. And the beautiful thing is Krishna is, it's ever fresh. There's always something to learn, always something to appreciate, always something to love about Krishna. You just need to keep pushing with it. Krishna, that relationship never gets old. It's not like relationships in this world where they can get a bit stale at times. There's no staleness there. It's always beautiful. That's why we need to keep with that. And it's a little bit on the end of the purport. I should write. I think I need to just speak on. Yeah. He studied with great attention, concentrating on the purpose of the Vedas, and after scrutinizing examining the whole process, he ascertained that becoming a pure, unalloyed devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, the topmost perfection of all religious principles. And this is the last instruction of the Bhagavad-Gita, directly presented by the Personality of Godhead. The Vedic conclusion is thus accepted by all Acharyas, and those who are against this conclusion are only Veda-Vadaratas, as explained in the Bhagavad-Gita. What these Veda-Vadaratas refer to is the supposed follow the Vedas, the Karmakandis, the ones who are just not interested in learning about the Lord, they're not interested about developing a relationship with Krishna, they're just interested about, getting a nice son or daughter, or getting a new car, or looking for more money. It's all about them. It's that phoniness, there's that Karmakand. At best, they want to, when it's all said and done, want to go get promoted to the heavenly planets. It's all about me. It's that me. What they're thinking. That's phony. And Krishna knows that as well. And if you do the piety, you'll get some benefit, but you won't get the ultimate benefit. Even if you go to the heavenly planets, you'll come back down again because it's very difficult to do bhakti there. I mean, the only one I could think of, there'll be other examples as well. Someone like a Gopa Kumar managed it, but that's because he was a great devotee anyway, so he didn't bother actually any of the opulences heaven. He wasn't interested. He just chanted the holy name. So you need that kind of mentality to survive in the heavenly planets where you're so focused on your bhakti, you don't care about anything else. That's difficult. Better do it here where there's less opulence and you can focus on your bhakti better. Next verse. Bhagavan sarva bhuteshu lakshita swatmana harihi drishyar buddhi adhibir rashta lakshaner aduma pekihi. The personality of God and Lord Sri Krishna is in every living being along with the individual soul. And this fact is perceived and hypothesized in our acts of seeing and taking help from the intelligence. Again, this is just a short glorification of Paramatma. I've already mentioned how merciful Paramatma is. That, so this manifestation of the Lord Sri Krishna, is that he is giving us chance after chance. We have, the fact that we've taken here, we're listening to this, we're taking part in this Bhagavatam verse by verse. We're actually trying to listen from others. I'm grateful you're listening to me today. We've been given an opportunity. We have to push on. That's the thing. Paramatma, we have to look like that example's given. You got two birds. One is us, one is Paramatma. Paramatma's looking at us. We need to move our head towards Paramatma. When we actually start conversing, when we can take instruction, we can actually elevate ourselves. Just you can't let it go. Don't get distracted. Again, this is that key part there. And one more thing is that, how do we know if we're Paramatma, if we're being guided by Paramatma? It's simple, but it's always good to remember Guru Sadhu Shastra. We're following Guru Sadhu Shastra naturally, means Paramatma is guiding us. If we're not, that means we're going against Paramatma, because Paramatma, if he wants us to do this, so he'll push us in the right direction. If things are happening for you in your bhakti, that's Krishna via Paramatma is pushing you in the right direction. It's like, yeah, I like that. Keep going, keep moving that direction. If you're finding that in your bhakti, brilliant. Just keep going that direction. Okay, and the last verse. Pibanti ye bhagavata atmanah satam kathamritam shravana puteshu samvritam punanti te vishaya vidushita shayam vrajanti tacharna saroruhantikam. Those who drink through oral reception, fully filled with the nectarian message of Lord Krishna, the beloved of the devotees, purify the polluted aim of life, known as material enjoyment, and thus go back to Godhead, to the lotus feet of Him, the personality Godhead. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Swami is actually giving us considered a blessing, considering it's definitely a reassurance that if we follow this path of bhakti, we will go back. This is his words, not mine. He's actually telling you, yes, you can do this. Just follow the instructions from the bona fide guru. And actually, let me find in the purport. It's a bit more explanation on this as well. Where is it? Yeah, the highest perfection of thinking for human society suggested here by Shukadeva Goswami, namely sufficient hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Again, see, this is good. We're doing something right if we're hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. For men in this age of Kali, when they have lost the perfect vision of life, this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the torchlight by which to see the real path. Famous verse there. Krishna Swadhama Pakate Dharma Jnana Dabisaha Kalau Nishtadashimesha Puranarko Dunoditaha. In this age of Kali, when the men have lost their vision, it is Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam that will give us vision. No, so we're all blind at this point, but when we take the Bhagavatam, we have actually a vision of what we need to do. We need to follow Guru, follow Sadhu, follow Shastra, take the Bhakti, take Shukadeva Goswami's mercy. If we do that, then whatever issues we have, they'll be dealt with. And even if we suffer, it won't be suffering as we think of it, as we tend to think of it, because we're doing it for Krishna. So you even see that. So obvious example with Prabhupada, traveled to old age, he suffered so much just traveling all around the world. Traveling just to get to America, he suffered so much. But because he was completely surrendered to Krishna, it wasn't suffering. It was just him pleasing his guru, just pleasing Krishna. So therefore, even suffering becomes joyful. And that's the thing. When we take the bhakti, it all becomes joyful because we're doing it for Krishna, and that's what we're meant to do. Okay, I'll finish there. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. That was very reassuring and thorough. So appreciate that. Thank you, Ajay Prabhu. And I was just making some notes as you were speaking. So just some fact about, you mentioned 15,840 billion or 15 trillion, 15.8 trillion trillion years. So 1 billion, I was watching this program, they said if you wanted to count 1 billion pounds and you counted them 24 hours a day, non-stop, it would take you 32 years to count them. Because there's 1 billion seconds in 32 years. So you'll be dead, basically. Count 1 billion. And we're talking, big number of years, 15,840 years, and Brahma's life, 311 trillion years. It's mind-boggling to think at that level. We can't imagine. Our lifespan is so small. 80 years, if you look at 100 years, like that, and it's really mind-boggling. And some of the other things, I like the point about that we all have potential to go back home, back to God. And this is why the Lord in the heart, He remains with us, because He still sees the potential. Nobody else, it's like the father will see the potential, a mother will see the potential, nobody else will see the potential in the child, but the parent always sees the potential, that yes, there is hope for our kid. So like that, because he is the father, he is the original Pita, he always sees potential in us. No matter, even after billion of years, he still sees there is still some hope, some light through the tunnel, that this jiva will go back home, and so he remains with us in the hope. He always remains hopeful. And this point you made about material attachments, I think, which in verse 4, that material attachments are distracting, right? So it just reminded me of the story of it's actually disappearance day of Sanatana Goswami, as it happens. And there's this pastime of Sanatana Goswami in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, when Sanatana Goswami breaks out of jail and he's going to meet Lord Chaitanya. He's going to catch up with Lord Chaitanya in where's the all the Mayavadis are? In Vinaras. He found out the Lord is there, so he's going there. On the way, he meets his brother-in-law, and his brother-in-law gives him a very expensive blanket. So he's wearing that. So he's got long hair, beard, and he's given away all his wealth, and he's given away, basically all his career and everything. And he goes to see the Lord, and then he's offered new clothes, and he refused the new clothes. But he held on to that blanket. And Lord Chaitanya, he was like looking at him, what's his problem? He's given up everything, given up his life, all his wealth is gone. He's still keeping on to the blanket. It's like the Lord kept staring at him. And they say that he understood that the Lord is trying to tell me something. He quickly understood. So he went out and swapped his beautiful, very expensive blanket with a mendicant and took his torn blanket. And the Lord, when he came back, Lord Chaitanya was very happy. He said, I'm glad you got the point. Why? Because even a little bit of material attachments will weaken your spiritual strength, the Lord told him. For spiritual strength to be strong, you need to have no attachments. Even if your attachment just to even a blanket, that will weaken you. And the Lord wanted him to be fully potent, because he had big, he had a lot of hopes for him. He had a big job for him. So yeah, that was really interesting that this point has come up this day. It's nothing goes Swami's disappearance day, and they've done amazing things. And the Lord also explained to him, because Sanatana Goswami is a Brahman. He says, to tell a Brahman, he just needs, like a shara, as we say, just a hint. You can just give a hint to a Brahman. And to a Kshatriya, he needs strong words. And to a Vaishya, he needs to be penalized. Some money taken off him, penalty. Then he will understand. So the Kshatriya will understand by strong words. Brahman will understand just by ishara or just by hinting. And a Vaishya will understand by penalizing. When you hit him where it hurts, his money, then you will understand. That will correct him. And with the Shudra, you have to punish him basically, because he doesn't understand all these other. So we're talking about mentalities here. So a Shudra has to be punished. Then he'll understand and he'll be corrected. So like that. So with Sanatana Goswami, he was a Brahman by nature and by birth. And just he saw the Lord staring at him, again and again. He realized, I think I should not be having this blanket, and he got rid of it. So that was so beautiful. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, because I think it's a very important point. We need to check ourselves. Are we attached to something that we shouldn't be attached to? Or is that an obstacle in our bhakti? Whatever this attachment could be people, could be things, could be food, anything. I think we have to just introspect and check, what is our distraction or obstacle, in a way. And what else? There's Okay. So anyway, that's that. I just want to ask you a couple of quick questions. You mentioned about the knowledge. So Lord Brahma got knowledge in the heart.
Yeah.
But you're saying that he still wanted to just double check it. So he read it 3 times. Because all the Vedas were given to him in the heart, but he just wanted to just double check that what have I understood it correctly, or is the information as it is?
Well, Lord Brahma, he had complete faith in Krishna, but it's more, for example, for us,
Yes.
where we shouldn't just take it, okay, even when we have like, we could have, the most amazing guru, we
Mm.
still shouldn't just take blindly whatever's told us. We should actually understand it for ourselves, that we should analyze it. Something we don't understand, ask the guru. It's just obviously we have, you have great faith, you have great respect for your guru.
Yeah.
Obviously, in this case, you have great faith, ultimate faith, ultimate respect, ultimate love for Krishna. But still, you still should ask questions. If there's any doubt there, get rid of the doubt. Don't, and actually, if you don't have any understanding, then you don't, there's no real faith there either. So yeah, Lord Brahma's very much set a right example for us. We need to, just don't take it blindly, actually. And plus, you actually reading about Krishna, learning, it's very blissful anyway. It's so purifying, so you should do it anyway.
Yes. So you're very nice. Yeah, yeah. And one more thing, the first verse you mentioned that there was like Lord Brahma was going to build the creation,
Hmm.
but he was meditating on the Virat Rupa. So how does he know what the Virat Rupa looks like if he hasn't created?
Well, this is not total dissolution. This is partial dissolution.
Okay.
And so, plus he's like I say, when he's meditating on the Lord, he gets the instruction straight away. Before that, he doesn't actually know what's going on. But then, because he remembers, meditates on the Lord, the instruction comes from the heart, and then he starts building again.
Okay. So he's looking at the partial Virat Rupa, as you say. Yeah?
Well, the Virat Rupa's more in terms of the lokas. This is like you relate everything to, like, you imagine this, like the top is the face and everything. This is more like applying the thought process. So this case, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is like the example of where he helped, Lord Brahma emanated from his stem from his lotus, the lotus stem from his navel,
Yeah.
and he's the one who's helping him with instructions. And so when he applies it back again, like this is a general example for us as well, that when we apply everything to Krishna,
Mm.
then our ignorance is dissipated. When we try to just our own mental speculation, we kind of in the situation where we don't know what to do. Like, Lord Brahma, what do I do? What to do? But when I'm actually thinking about, applying it to Krishna, then all of a sudden the confusion goes away. So that's why this nice verse is very nice start to the chapter.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much. Okay, I want to pass this on now. Anybody wants to make comment, statement, or ask any questions? You want to just get some clarification? So please go ahead, and the floor is yours. Okay.
No question. Okay, good.
I've got a
Sorry,
question.
Mataji. Okay.
I've got a question. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you so
Krishna.
much. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Gauraraya Prabhu. Very nice class. I just want to ask a question. Are there any examples in our movement like Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Narottam Das Thakur, how they live simply? They gave up everything. So are there any examples that we can see? Because I feel we are still trying to keep our feet in two boats, spiritual life and material life. And I feel like, for me, I don't think it is possible to achieve what we are really saying every day. Yes, devotional service, yes, our aim is to go back, but we are not really living simply, and we are not eating simply. And even the programs, yes, I know we have to offer to the Lord, but then that is just eaten by us again. It's not that we are distributing it to the poor. So my understanding is like we are just like beating the empty husk, really, saying something and doing the opposite. I don't know. This is my
Yeah.
feeling,
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you much for your question. Yeah. The first thing, I'll be careful with comparing ourselves to the Goswamis, especially because their standard is very, very. We can't do what they did. They're empowered, so we can't compare ourselves to them. I'll give the example of Raghunath Das Goswami. He would eat food left over and from like the charity tables, and that's if you try to eat that kind of food, you'd either end up in the hospital probably. So it's not possible for us. That's empowered being could do that sort of thing. In terms of, so we shouldn't feel guilty if we can't follow their example, because they're the prime examples. They're our inspiration. We're just trying to follow in the footsteps. But if you're looking for someone who, for me, the obvious example here would be Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Jayapataka Swami. That he had a very comfortable life in America, doing very well. But then he came following Srila Prabhupada's instructions. He actually came over here to India, and gave up everything. He was going around in Bengal and all around, trying preaching. He didn't speak any of it himself. Learned all of this, living very ordinary, very ordinary circumstances. Like back then, people didn't understand why would somebody American boy be heading over to India? It's the way around. Everybody's going from India to America. But that's the thing. When you are, so you don't have to be, completely without any enjoyment as such. But if you're so dedicated to the move, dedicated to Guru, dedicated to Krishna, you'll go through all sorts of trials and tribulations and everything. Nothing is too much. I mean, Guru Maharaj would travel all around the world so many times, and he's still doing it now, even in his ill health. So that's where we take inspiration that we don't have to be, like for like with the great devotees, the great personalities, these great, they're beyond us in that sense. But if we take that mood, then we do it to our best. Krishna kind of understands what we're capable of. So we shouldn't feel guilty if we're not at their standard. But if we're trying our best every day, that's all we can ask for. All we can be asked for, really. And then, if you're pushing yourself to be better every day in your bhakti, then you're doing the right thing. It's not about feeling guilty then it's just about keep improving and then keep getting better association, keep diving deeper into Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, keep chanting better, all these things. Prabhupada said you don't have to be 100% brilliant, you're not perfect. But if you just really, really dive in, you really dedicate yourself, you can go back to Godhead too. So yeah, we just need to go with that mood.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yes. Well, you've done a nice offering to Guru Maharaj on Guru Purnima. It's a very nice class. And yes, Guru Maharaj, yes, we can see how Guru Maharaj is serving his Guru. And despite having health issues, and he's not considering those, and he still wants to distribute Krishna Prem to everyone.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard that when Guru Maharaj woke up, like first thing he said was, time for more initiations.
Yeah.
So I asked Guru Maharaj, amazing mood.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes. Yeah, no, we can't compare ourselves to the Acharyas, but we have to live, to their standard as well, what they have done. So we can't. So I do feel guilty, and, because I feel like we need to simplify. We have to go back to our life we had in India. That's the only way we can really, because we're still wasting so much time here and there. Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Thank
Andali.
you much. Hare Krishna.
Okay, anybody else? Vijay Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes. Can you tell me, are we trying to rise above the three modes of material nature? Should we be trying to rise above it? I was a bit unclear on that point.
Yes, we should try to rise above it, because even in the mode of goodness, it's not pure. You look for pure goodness. In the mode of goodness, there's tinges of passion and ignorance. And so we definitely need to rise above the three modes. And that's done when we actually completely dedicated to our bhakti, like these material weeds. You have to try and get rid of these things where you should be thinking about other stuff that's nothing. Everything should be aligned with service of Krishna. Even if you have to do things that are seemingly material, let's say, like you got work or that sort of thing, you're doing it for Krishna. If everything is, when you got to the point where everything is aligned for Krishna, that's when you're heading towards pure devotional service. And so yeah, you have to, yes, probably definitely have to rise above the three modes.
Okay, thank you very much. But that links to me in my mind that trying to get back to Godhead, is that a state above the three modes, or are we still looking for a gain, some sort of gain in that? Is that not some
It
sort of gain in itself?
that it's understood to be our natural constitution is to serve Krishna. We are, his part and parcel. So it's kind of understood that that's also more selfless, desireless, because we're just doing what's natural to us. When we're here, we're enjoying Krishna's property. This world is Krishna's property. We're trying, we're taking advantage of that in that sense. When we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, then there's no desire there as such. We're just serving Krishna. We're more interested in Krishna's joy. And the fact that we get joy out of it as well is just, it's such an added bonus. So that's the meaning of desireless. That's what we are, the soul. We're just doing what the soul naturally wants to do, which is service of Krishna, loving service of Krishna. And more, that's the important part there. Not just service, loving service of Krishna. So when we're reciprocating love with Krishna, that's just our natural state. That's why that's not selfish and it's desireless as well.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Okay. Anybody else want to say anything about this chapter, maybe? Okay, should we stop here? Do you want to say something? Radharani wants to say something.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you, Ajaya Prabhu, for wonderful overview of this chapter. And I was just thinking that, as the saying goes, the very popular one, I might not say it properly, but what comes to my head is that we have to be in this world, we have to live in this world, but not of this world. So if you contemplate on these words, you will understand. If you think of lotus flower, it's such a beautiful thing created by Lord, and it's offered to Lord as well. But look at the circumstances in which the lotus flower appears, and the way the leaves are designed, that even if the mud drops on it, if something comes on it, it doesn't stays on it, it just goes. So this is what is expected of us, that we might be in all kinds of opulences, we might be in a very miserable or impoverished situation as well in life sometimes. That should affect us. We might be suffering so much bodily discomfort, or some, like the prime example is what happened to the world 6 years ago. A simple cold manifested in such a big problem. But we have to navigate the way around it. So we don't have to worry too much about this. It's just attachment. We shouldn't get attached to neither the good circumstances nor the bad circumstances. We just have to remember it's all an illusion. It shall pass. It's not going to be there forever. And we have to go through this. This is the only way we are going to go back to Godhead. This is the way. We can't escape this, Maya Devi's jal around us, which has been spread around it. It has to be, we have to walk on it. The steps have to be taken. Now it's up to us. We want to take a little, the baby's little handheld kind of thing, which is given, the baby walker or the tricycle, or you want to have a cycle, or you want to have a motorized cycle. Then as we go through all the modes of transportation, we'll say, do we want to have the rocket? So if you want to have the rocket, you have to get yourself attached to a bona fide spiritual master, get the Diksha. Then only you might be doing everything at the moment, but unless and until you have had the Diksha, that little connection is missing. And I've always heard from everyone that once they take the Diksha, whatever qualifications they had, for example, somebody was very good at singing, they were hesitant to sing in the temple, or they felt that I'm not good enough. They say after getting the Diksha, the very next day, the singing became something else. And what was that? That is called empowerment. But like Prabhupada says, don't just willy-nilly just take any guru. Like they say, the guru finds you. So there'll be some attraction between you and guru. And like I think a couple of years ago, was it that Prabhu who passed away? He was in his late 80s or almost 90 maybe. And just before passing away, I think was a few months ago or something like that, he had his Diksha from Jananand Swami from in Manchester. And soon after he was diagnosed with this and that disease, and then he passed. And towards the end, in the hospice of his lifetime, he had devotees visiting him, singing the Mahamantra, and he was saying that I can't have enough. Though he was in a lot of pain physically, but he was joyful. Everybody who was going there, he was saying that he looks something else. It doesn't seem that sort of disease has been hurting him. So that is the difference when you see the life of a devotee, and these are the real examples Krishna sends our way. And if it was a normal person, we don't know what kind of thought process that person would be going if they are not attached to Krishna. So it's never late. When I saw that Prabhu's example, and I thought, wow. And even in our movement, we have our guru, many gurus like Indradyumna Swami. He also, when he tells about his mother, and many gurus, they have given Diksha to their own. They haven't given the Diksha themselves. They've asked other gurus. For example, they were in a different country, and the parent was really in the last moments kind of situation. This other guru, he's giving the Diksha on the phone. So anything is possible in this world. Even in the last moments, somebody can achieve something which others, they have tried all their lives, they haven't managed to. So there's lots and lots of examples, and it's all Krishna's mercy. And we are doing all this together is also Krishna's mercy, and that too on Guru Purnima Day. Thank you all for your lovely inputs. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Pundrikaksh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Thank you for that wonderful summary. You explained about all the forms of the Lord also. And you made some bullet points which are very striking, and I can connect them with what you said. Lord does not forget about us anytime. And at the end, you said He is giving chance after chance. And why to take a hard path, which is full of distractions, you get deviated very easily. So really, like in India, the retirement period is 60 years, I think. But the 60 is not defined randomly, like just some number out of their mind. But it was analyzed that at the age of 60, after 60, maybe another 2 to 3 years, their brain work. But after that, their brain won't work as it was before 60. So it's very hard to maintain anything consistently for that many years, 100%. Even fasting, we can do one day. If we ask to fast another day also, it becomes very difficult for us. We cannot do that. So follow the easy path, which is supported by the association of devotees, and Krishna himself is supporting us. So Krishna gives us a chance. He never disconsiders us. He always considers us that there is a hope for this. Even this kind of person also, there is a hope, and he is giving a chance after chance. And fortunately, we got this human life and spiritual master. And as you said, like spiritual master should not be treated as an ordinary human being, because he used all his senses to satisfy the Supreme Lord. And anything that is used to satisfy the Supreme Lord becomes spiritual rather than material. Like Prabhupada says, he used car, he used laptop, he used telephone in the service of the Supreme Lord. So when a devotee like that, he used the material also, it becomes spiritual. It's not material at all. And that's all, Prabhuji. Very nice class. Thank you. And one more thing. I mean, normally, I don't see that much smile on your face, Prabhuji, when we meet on Sunday Sangha. But today, we are fortunate to see you smiling as well. Thank you.
I know, Pro, I think it was your over 60s comment. We've got a few devotees over 60. They might agree with you that about the brain thing.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I'm in that category as well.
Yes, we agree. Unfortunately, our brains aren't working.
But I agree with Purika, like you smiling, Prabhuji. It was very nice to see you. And I was admiring your white teeth as well. Yes. Nice to see you. Very happy. Yeah, that's the glory of Krishna. When you're saying Krishna Katha, you're so blissful, so happy.
Yes, all Krishna's mercy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Actually, I was going to ask Sureshi Mataji to say something, but I think she just gone. But not to worry. So, unless there's anything else, we can stop here and then we'll continue chapter 3 on Friday. Anybody else want to say anything? Add anything?
Narayan Keshava, the point you mentioned, I heard for the first time. That's really nice. That how a Kshatriya needs to be dealt, Brahmana need to be dealt, Vaishya and Sudra. And thank you, Prabhuji, for that point.
Yeah, I find it quite. I heard it recently and I thought it was very interesting.
And of course, for this point, we have to remember it's not that Brahman by the birth or something like that. It
Mentality.
is by mentality.
Yeah.
So it's not that we find a Brahman who is on a yatra is not giving us some trouble. We try to, because everything is all mixed up. Actually, we all are Shudras, whether we like it or not.
But we can rise.
We are in the making of good devotees.
We can rise.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Okay, so can you have 3 Haribols for, can we unmute and give 3 Haribols to Ajay Prabhu?
Haribol.
So thank you, Ajay Prabhu, and thank you all for listening and being present and giving your insight into this, and there's wonderful chapters, and I think the next one's going to be really good as well. They're quite short chapters, but they're very nice, and we're developing from the realization to the Lord in the heart, and then devotional service. We're moving up. So yeah, let's work together and advance together. So thank you so much. Granth Rashi Bhagavatam ki jai.
Guru Purnima ki jai.
Jai.
Ki jai. Gora Premanande
Hari Hari.
Okay.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.